white cake, devil's food, yellow cake.
There's an old curiosity shop. Every once in a while I go by there for the fond recollections that lie there in that old curiosity shop.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Scott from the Old Curiosity Shop, and we're back with a little kitchen counter thrift haul this afternoon. This won't take up too much time. I just have a few things to show you. Everything that you are looking at, almost everything, is up for sale, currently listed in the Old Curiosity Shop, where you will see better pictures, full descriptions. And the link to the shop is always found in the description box right underneath the video. It is our custom here to pause in the afternoon and have a cup of coffee. And I usually say today's cup of coffee is brought to you by...
A cup of coffee, a sandwich, and you. A cozy corner, a table for two.
Well, it's brought to you by the Indiana Glass Company. And here's a pattern that I have not shown you before, I'm certain of that. It's Indiana's line 612. Indiana didn't name their glassware by cutesy-pootsy little names. Collectors have done that, mostly the collectors of the books that were written, and this pattern is known as horseshoe. So let's take a look at what the horseshoe pattern looks like, although it's not really a genuine horseshoe, just what the collector's books refer to it as. It's patterned glass in green, and it's a 30s pattern with uranium in it. One of the things about Indiana Glass, they were known, among other companies, for some rather rough seams. And a lot of times the seams here on the handles can be very rough. Remember, none of this glass was fire polished, and they didn't care much about, well, they didn't care at all about quality control. The other thing you'll note with a lot of Indiana Glass is there's a raised edge right here at the around the diameter, and that's just the seam as it comes out of the mold. You can't really see it, but I can feel it as I scrape my thumb across this saucer. And sometimes it's sharp enough, it'll really feel like it will cut you. And it's a very easy place for this type of glass to become chipped. So just something to keep in mind when you're collecting depression glass. If you're new to the genre, you've got to sort of accept and become accustomed to some of those imperfections. All right, a pretty pattern, horseshoe, by the Indiana Glass Company. I'll have a little sip of this. You have a little sip of what you're drinking this afternoon. It's always nice to stop and have some coffee, even late in the afternoon. Okay, that already sold. I listed it, and within, an hour it had already gone. And I imagine someone, I don't know whether you know this, everyone, but you can actually save a search. You can go into eBay. Let's say you're searching for this piece right here, which is a Hall Aladdin teapot cobalt lid. You can save that as a search, and the minute anybody lists one and they use the words Hall teapot lid, you'll get a notification and you can jump right on. I saved this as a replacement lid and sold it for $12 right away, obviously to somebody who needs this lid. They probably broke theirs, and we're happy to get it as a replacement. So I do often buy lids, especially if I can identify to I do like to buy old lids if I can identify from whence they came, what they go to, what they came off of, and that's what that is there. So someone has already jumped on that, and that was a buy it now for $12. This beautiful shell dish here by Abingdon pottery in this wonderful blue color. It's a heavy piece of pottery, nicely designed. very heavy piece. It almost feels like it's got lead in it. I can't believe how heavy this piece is. Very nicely designed, and gosh, I can't even hardly flip it unless I put it down and then do it. We can see the Abingdon name right there, which is got a glaze skip right through it. It almost looks like maybe they crossed it out in the factory as if it were a second, but it's Abingdon pottery. And I'm not exactly sure how you would use that nice big dish right there. What would you do with it? It's too shallow to be a planter. But this little Easter bunny back here is a nice planter, and for, you know, the minute I said it looks like he's holding a toilet brush, a toilet scrubber, about 20 minutes later I looked at him again and I said, you big dummy, that's a carrot. With some of the orange paint chipped off, as you can see there, it would have been a carrot. So he's very nicely done as well, and probably a mid-century piece there. I know it's not Easter, but you know, it would be a pretty piece to hold on to until your until Easter decorating next year. Okay, so he's cute and is in really good condition, and there's no damage on that. By the way, Mr. Bunny Rabbit here, I believe, is a piece of Morton pottery. There were several potteries in Morton, is it Illinois? I hope I'm remembering that right. And a lot of these pieces aren't marked. Sometimes it's difficult to tell because of the various potteries that were all selling under the name of Morton. But I think that's who he is. And I'll set him back down there. And then over here is a Bavarian German little Art Deco piece here. And this is part of a larger dresser set. Would have been a larger dresser set. It's a little dusting powder jar, trinket jar type of thing for the lady's vanity. I love the yellow and the black. I would say it's in an Art Deco style. It does say Bavaria on the bottom. It's nice porcelain, and I love the little lid on the top with it hasn't been chipped at all. And I suppose you could even use it as a sugar bowl if you wanted to. So that's a cute piece as well. I've got the Ford Joseph Originals birthday angels back there, 17, 18, 19, 20. I've already talked about them, and they're familiar to a lot of people. I gave these girls the once-over. Really checked them, and I only found damage on one. 17, 19, and 20 are in pristine condition. The wings fell off of Miss 18, and she had those glued back on, and there's a tiny, tiny little chip. It's what's called a clean break, and unless you look at her in a certain way, you don't even see. But there's the telltale sign of some yellow glue. You see, you don't even see a break line there. They literally, the wings fell off right where they were originally applied. There you'll see a little glue underneath. And just a little bit right there. So you don't even hardly see it. I think there's a pinhead sized chip right there on her gold wing. So that's the only one that has any damage. And they're all marked Joseph Originals. Some of them have a sticker on the bottom as well, and some don't. I'm still shocked that after age 16 a girl would actually want to receive one of these, but I guess there was a market for them. And then we have two ashtrays in the front, an elephant and a dog. And I'll let you all decide what kind of a dog that is, or what kind of a dog he's supposed to be. And this one these were advertising, many times sold as souvenirs. Lusterware, made in Japan in the 1930s. And this one still has the remnant of its water-based decal on there. Souvenir of Wildwood, New Jersey, which is a shore town, wonderful boardwalk there. And this is just the kind of thing that someone would have picked up as a souvenir on the boardwalk in the 1930s. Now, you can leave that on there, or you can scrape that off, put some hot water on there, and it'll come right off. You're not going to hurt the value of the piece if you decide, you know, that you want to remove that souvenir label. This one over here had a souvenir label on it as well, and it's obliterated, but there's a ghost mark there. And you can have fun trying to see. It looks like Wankesha? I don't know. That looks W-A-N-K-E-S-H-A. Wankesha? Is there a town in this country called Wankesha? Or, I don't know. But that's what it looks like anyway. Lusterware ashtrays, do with them as you please. Made in England, probably 1940s. Just that wonderful Depression era cream and green that I love so much. Devon, Crown Devon, made in England. When we have bees, we think of these as little honey pots. You could put sugar in it, certainly, if you didn't want to mess with honey. There's no damage on it, no chips, no cracks. Those little wings on that bumblebee, if it is a bumble, or honeybee, are perfect. They've been there all this time, and it's in good shape. So use the spoon of your choice and serve honey at your breakfast table or sugar in that. Here's a coffee teapot, cream and sugar. This is occupied Japan, so we know that's 1945 to 1952. Not a chip or a crack or a stain on any of this. Excellent, excellent, excellent. No repairs either. Really cute. There's the little teapot. I know you're all waiting for me to sing short and stout, and I'm not going to do it. There's the windmill. It's a kind of a Dutch theme. Yeah. And the creamer. And we can see, well, we can't really see on that one. Maybe we can see on this one just a little bit of made in occupied Japan, and it is marked occupied Japan on the bottom. Big collectible category years ago. Lots of collectors clubs and all kinds of books written on occupied Japan. These are very nicely done, by the way. Quality is pretty good on those. A majolica piece here, made in Japan also. A little earlier, this basket weave style is going to go all the way back to the late 20s into the 30s when it was very popular. Lots of crazing on it. There's a mark on there, which is one of the Japan export, one of the American companies that was there were hundreds of them in Japan, and the marks are endless. But I always like this majolica looking glaze on the basket weave Japanese pieces from this era. I like them a lot. A little planter. No chips, no cracks on that either. A McCoy piece back here from the late 40s. There are no chips on this. It's nice and clean. There aren't any scrapes or mars. Scuffs is what I'm trying to say. On the finish surface of this, we can see McCoy planter there, and isn't it just begging to be chipped? And it is not. I'm going to let you decide what this is. I'm going to call it a crack. Some of you may not, but I'm going to call it a crack. We see there on the back. Now, at first I thought that might just be a scuff, but it has the characteristics of a crack. If I go really in very closely, we can see that I think someone banged the back of this. Now, when you run your finger over it, it's completely smooth to the touch. There's no tick-tick when you slide your thumb nail, meaning it's what's called a really, really tight hairline crack. It does not go all the way to the top. And when I give it the little thump test, which this may not work here, it's not working, but you'll have to just... A loose crack, a crack that really bothers me, you're going to get that sort of rattle sound, but I get a nice ring when I thump this. And that ring just tells me that it's a pretty tight area of damage here, this crack. I'm not really worried about it, and I can barely see, I can just barely see. It might come through just a little bit, but not much. So anyway, I just want to point out that that's on the back of it there. I'm glad that it is on the back and that it doesn't affect the front of that pretty McCoy vase at all. That's it. A couple honorable mentions, which I am going to be keeping for the moment. I was able to find a percolator top in depression green. I don't need it, but someday I might find a percolator that's missing. Here's an old percolator back here that has a Fry glass top on it. That glass, that opalescent glass there, is made by the Fry Glass Company. But this would look nice on there as well. And they're interchangeable. It's somewhat universal, this large, oversized percolator top. So one of these days I will find a percolator without its top, and I'll say, woohoo, I've got it. And then this I'm going to keep as well. I love this little recipe box in oak. And when oak fell out of fashion in the parlor, living room, dining room, it remained somewhat in fashion in kitchens. Oak lingered into the 1930s, through the 1930s, in kitchen furniture. Early to mid 30s, we still had a lot of oak, and then finally the tubular furniture, tubular steel and all, and vinyl and all that took over, and that was the end of oak. But you could still find oak in kitchen pieces, and here we have a Gold Medal Home Services recipes box made of oak, and it is from the 1920s. The decal is screaming 20s, but also, if we open it up, I just love the fact that over all the years, someone could have easily picked that out of there, but they didn't. And it hasn't been damaged. There's no date on it. But I do know Betty Crocker came on the radio in the 1920s. I used to know the exact year. I'd have to go back and look that up. There were a whole bunch of Betty Crockers, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them throughout the years that Betty was on the radio. Kitchen tested. Gold medal, flower. So that's really cool that that sticker is on the inside there, Betty Crocker.
Daddy! Gee, Mom was counting on that yellow cake for Johnny's Scout meeting tomorrow. Okay, Daddy. It's so easy to make a cake with Betty Crocker cake mix. I'll make her another one. White cake, devil's food, yellow cake.
It's a good thing her mom's modern. I'm Betty Crocker. With my yellow cake mix, all you do is add water and a couple of fresh eggs. The other ingredients are in the package. Same fine things you'd use right in your own home. You'll get a perfect cake just like this, or write General Mills, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they'll send your money back. A high cake, a light cake, a better tasting cake.
And don't think it isn't. That's why Betty Crocker herself says,
I guarantee a perfect cake every time you bake, cake after cake after cake.
So you can just see this in Grandma's oak Hoosier cabinet with her recipes in it from the 1920s. I did buy that at a Goodwill store, and I did pay $4 for it, which I thought was quite reasonable for a close to 100-year-old recipe box in oak. Okay, this was fun. I love it. I had a good time. Hey, everybody, if you see anything you like, check it out in the Old Curiosity Shop store. That's going to be it for today, but I'll be back in no time. I'm Scott from the Old Curiosity Shop, saying thanks for watching, and so long for now. Take it away, Salem.